Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the stars through the main screen of the UES Horizon when the distress signal came through the ship's communication system. The signal was weak and broken, but the message was clear enough to make Jake's blood run cold. The research colony on Kepler 442b had gone silent 3 days ago, and now they were sending out an emergency beacon that spoke of death and destruction on a scale that made no sense. Jake had been a commander in the Earth United Space Force for 12 years, and he had seen his share of disasters, but nothing had prepared him for what he heard in that broken transmission. The voice belonged to Dr. Alan Pierce, who ran the Joint Human and Alien Research Station on the distant world. "This is Colony Base 7 calling any Earth vessel in range." The voice crackled through static. "Our situation is critical, and we need immediate assistance. The planet is breaking apart, and the Vellani are dying. I repeat, the Vellani are dying, and we don't know how to stop it." The transmission cut to static, and Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Vellani were humanity's first true alien allies, and the research colony represented years of careful diplomatic work between the two species. If something had happened to them, it could destroy the fragile peace that both races had worked so hard to build. Jake turned to his navigation officer, Lieutenant Ben Hayes, who was already running calculations on their current position. "How long to reach Kepler 442b at maximum speed?" Jake asked. Ben's fingers flew over his control panel as he worked out the numbers. 18 hours at full burn, sir, but we'll use up most of our fuel reserves getting there." Jake nodded and made his decision without hesitation. Set course for Kepler 442b and push the engines to their limit. Send a message to Earth Command telling them where we're going and why. The UES Horizon was a medium-sized exploration vessel with a crew of 43 people. It was fast and well-equipped, but it wasn't designed for rescue operations on a planetary scale. Still, Jake knew they were the only Earth ship within range, and if the Vellani were truly in danger, then every minute counted. Dr. Lisa Chun entered the bridge just as the ship began to accelerate toward their destination. She was the ship's chief scientist and one of the few humans who had actually worked with the Vellani during the early contact period. Her knowledge of their biology and culture might be crucial. If they were walking into some kind of medical emergency, "I heard the transmission," Lisa said as she approached Jake's command chair. "What do you think happened to them?" Jake shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but if Dr. Pierce is right, and the planet itself is somehow breaking apart, then we might be looking at a natural disaster beyond anything we've ever seen." Lisa pulled up a data file on her tablet showing everything they knew about Kepler 442b and its unique crystal-based ecosystem. "The Vellani aren't like us, Jake. They don't just live on their planet the way humans do. Their entire biology is connected to the crystalline structures that make up the world's crust. If something is happening to destabilize those crystals, it could be killing them directly." The thought sent a chill through Jake's mind. He had met several Vellani during diplomatic meetings on Earth, and despite their alien appearance, they had seemed peaceful and intelligent. The idea that an entire species might be facing extinction was almost too horrible to consider. As the hours passed, Jake found himself pacing the bridge while his crew worked to squeeze every bit of speed from the ship's engines. Communications. Officer Amy Foster tried repeatedly to re-establish contact with Colony Base 7, but received only silence in return. They finally dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Jake felt his heart sink at what he saw on the main screen. The planet that should have been a beautiful blue-green world covered in crystal formations now looked sick and dying, massive. Cracks ran across the surface like wounds, and strange lights flickered from deep within the planet's crust. Even from space they could see that something terrible was happening to the world below. "Take us into orbit," Jake ordered, but keep us at a safe distance until we know what we're dealing with. As they approached the planet, Lisa ran every scan she could think of while Ben monitored for any signs of the research colony. What they found made no sense according to everything they knew about planetary science. The entire crystalline matrix that makes up the planet's core is destabilizing, Lisa reported with disbelief in her voice. It's like someone has been mining the crystals that hold the whole world together. Jake felt anger building in his chest. Mining operations. Who authorized mining on a protected world? Before Lisa could answer, Amy Foster called out from her station. Sir, I'm picking up signals from the surface. It's not the colony, but there are definitely ships down there. The signatures don't match any Earth vessels in our database. Jake's jaw tightened as the implications became clear. Someone had come to this world illegally, and their actions were destroying not just the planet, but potentially an entire alien species. Put together a landing team, Jake ordered. We're going down there to find out what happened to our people and to help the Vellani if we can. Lisa looked up from her scanner readings with worry written across her face. Jake, if the planetary structure is as unstable as these readings suggest, then going to the surface could be extremely dangerous. The entire world could collapse at any moment. Jake met her gaze steadily. Then we better work fast. The Vellani trusted us enough to let humans build a research station on their world. We owe it to them to try and help, even if it means risking our lives. As the UES Horizon moved into position for the dangerous landing mission, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to walk into something much worse than a simple rescue operation. Whatever was happening on Kepler 442b had the potential to change everything between humans and their first alien allies. The question was whether they would arrive in time to make any difference at all. The landing shuttle touched down on Kepler 442b with a violent shudder that rattled every bolt in its frame as the unstable ground beneath them shifted and cracked. Jake Morrison stepped out first, followed by Dr. Lisa Chun and a security team led by Lieutenant Ben Hayes. The moment they set foot on the alien world, they could feel the wrongness in the air itself. Crystal formations that should have hummed with harmonic energy stood silent and dark, while cracks spread through the ground like spider webs. In the distance, they could see the research colony buildings, but even from here, it was clear that something terrible had happened. Stay close and watch your footing, Jake warned his team. According to the scanner readings, the ground stability is getting worse by the hour. They made their way carefully across the broken landscape toward the colony base, while Lisa took readings with her portable equipment. What she found made her stop dead in her tracks with horror written across her face. Jake, these readings are impossible, she said with her voice shaking. The quantum resonance that keeps this planet together is dropping to zero. It's like someone has been stealing the very foundation that holds the world in place. Before Jake could respond, they heard a sound that made their blood run cold. It was a low moaning cry that seemed to come from the planet itself, mixed with something that might have been voices calling for help. They found the first Vellani at the edge of what had once been a beautiful crystal garden. The alien being lay motionless on the ground, and Jake could see immediately that something was very wrong. Vellani were tall, graceful creatures, whose bodies were made of living crystal that normally glowed with soft inner light. This one's crystalline form was dull and cracked with dark veins running through what should have been clear mineral flesh. Lisa knelt beside the fallen alien and ran her medical scanner over its body. It's alive, but barely, she reported. The crystal matrix that makes up its body is breaking down at the molecular level. Can you help it? Jake asked. Lisa shook her head sadly. I don't even understand how their biology works under normal conditions. This is like trying to fix a machine when you don't know what any of the parts are supposed to do. They continued toward the colony and found more Vellani in the same condition, scattered across the landscape like fallen statues. Some were still moving weakly, but others had already begun to crumble into mineral dust. Research station itself was mostly intact, but when they entered the main building, they found Dr. Alan Pierce and his team of human scientists in a state of panic. "Thank God you're here," Pierce said when he saw Jake. "We've been trying to help them, but we don't know how. They started getting sick 3 days ago, and now they're dying faster than we can count." Pierce led them to the station's medical bay, where several Vellani lay on specially designed tables. One of them was still conscious, and when it saw the humans enter, its crystalline head turned toward them with what might have been hope. "This is Kira Thess," Pierce explained. "She's one of their scientists, and she speaks some English." She's been trying to explain what's happening, but most of it doesn't make sense. Jake approached the alien being carefully. Up close he could see the stress fractures running through Kira Thess's translucent body like cracks in expensive crystal. "Can you tell us what's wrong?" Jake asked gently. "We want to help you." Kira Thess's voice was like the sound of wind chimes mixed with breaking glass. "The song is ending," she said with words that came slowly and with obvious effort. "The deep harmony that gives us life grows silent." Lisa leaned forward with her scanner active. "What song? What harmony? Our world sings to us, and we sing back." Kira Thess explained, "But the miners have taken the notes that hold the melody together. Without the crystal hearts, our people cannot exist." Jake felt cold understanding wash over him. "Miners? What miners?" Pierce answered before. Kira Thess could respond. "We detected unauthorized ships in the northern mining region 2 weeks ago, but when we tried to investigate, they warned us away. We thought they might be pirates looking for easy crystal samples." "They are not simple thieves," Kira Thess said with her voice growing weaker. "They take the quantum crystals that connect all life on our world. As they steal more, the connection breaks and we die." Lisa was running scan after scan trying to understand what the Vellani meant about quantum connections and world songs. What she discovered in her readings made her face go pale. "Jake, this is worse than we thought," she said. "The Vellani aren't just connected to their planet through some kind of mystical bond. Their cellular structure is quantum entangled with the crystalline formations throughout the world's crust. When those formations are damaged or removed, it literally kills them at the genetic level." Jake looked around at the dying aliens and felt rage building in his chest. Someone had come to this world knowing that mining operations would commit genocide against an entire species, and they had done it anyway. "How many miners are we talking about?" he asked Pierce. "Our long-range sensors detected at least 5 ships, all heavily armed," Pierce replied. "They set up their operation in the crystalline caverns about 200 kilometers north of here." Ben Hayes stepped forward with his hand resting on his weapon. "Sir, if these are the same kind of corporate raiders we've dealt with before, they won't give up their operation without a fight." Jake nodded grimly. "Then we'll give them one, but first we need to find out if there's any way to save the Vellani." Kira Thess raised one crystalline hand weakly to get their attention. "There is a way," she said, "but it has never been tried, and the cost may be too great for both our peoples." "What kind of way?" Lisa asked. "The emergency bonding," Kira Thess replied. "If one of your people allowed their mind to connect with ours, then perhaps the quantum link could be maintained through your neural patterns instead of through the dying crystals." Lisa looked at Jake with understanding and determination in her eyes. "She's talking about some kind of mental link between human and Vellani consciousness. Is it dangerous?" Jake asked Kira Thess. Crystalline features showed what might have been sadness. For the human, it could mean death or madness. For us, it is our only hope of survival. Lisa stood up and faced Jake with her decision already made. "I have to try it, Jake. These people are dying, and if there's even a chance that linking with them could save their lives, then I have to take that risk." Jake wanted to argue, but he could see the determination in Lisa's eyes, and he knew that she was right. The Vellani had trusted humanity enough to allow them to build a research station on their world. And now it was time for humans to prove that trust was not misplaced. "What do you need?" he asked Kirithis. Dying alien's voice was barely a whisper now. "Take me to the Temple of Deep Harmony. If the bonding is to work, it must be done where the last of the world's song still echoes." As they prepared to move Kirithis to the ancient temple, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to attempt something that would change both species forever. The Temple of Deep Harmony stood at the center of what had once been the most beautiful crystal formation on Kepler 442b, but now even this sacred place showed signs of the spreading destruction. Jake Morrison and his team carefully carried Kirithis through the temple's massive crystal doors, while Dr. Lisa Chun studied the ancient structure with amazement and growing fear. The walls were made of living crystal that still held faint traces of the harmonic energy that once flowed through the entire planet. The resonance is still active here, but it's fading fast, Lisa reported as her scanner picked up the quantum frequencies that somehow sustained Velani life. "We might have an hour at most before even this place goes silent." Inside the temple's main chamber, they found 12 other Velani, who had gathered here as their world died around them. These were the last survivors from the research colony, and Jake could see that most of them were in even worse condition than Kirithis. Velani had arranged themselves in a circle around a central crystal formation that rose from the floor like a frozen fountain. Even in its weakened state, the crystal hummed with a sound that was almost like music if you listened carefully enough. "This is where we must attempt the bonding," Kirithis explained as Jake's team gently placed her near the central crystal. "But I must warn you, Doctor Chun, that what we are about to try has never been done before. The risks to your mind and body are unknown." Lisa knelt beside the dying alien and placed her hand on Kirithis's crystalline arm. "Tell me what I need to do. You must open your consciousness to ours and allow the quantum patterns that define our existence to merge with your neural pathways," Kirithis said. "But human minds work so differently from ours that the connection might destroy you." Jake grabbed Lisa's shoulder. "You don't have to do this. We can find another way." Lisa looked up at him with determination burning in her eyes. "Jake, these people are dying because someone decided their lives didn't matter as much as profit. If I can save them, then I have to try." She turned back to Kirithis. "What exactly will happen during the bonding? Your individual human consciousness will expand to include our collective awareness." The Velani explained, "You will feel what we feel, know what we know, and experience existence as we do. At the same time, we will learn to understand concepts like individual identity and personal choice through your mind." Lisa nodded and positioned herself at the center of the crystal circle. "What do I need to do?" The surviving Velani began to hum, in harmony, creating a sound that resonated through the crystal formations around them. As the harmonic frequency built, Lisa felt something strange happening in her mind. First, it was just a tingling sensation, like the feeling you get when your foot falls asleep, but then it grew stronger until she could actually sense the quantum patterns that Kirithis had described. "I can feel something," Lisa said with wonder in her voice. "It's like there's music in the air, but I'm hearing it with my brain instead of my ears." "That is the world song," Kirithis replied. "Now you must let it inside your consciousness and allow it to become part of who you are." Lisa closed her eyes and tried to open her mind to the alien. Harmony. What happened next was unlike anything she had ever experienced in her life. Suddenly she was aware of the quantum connections that linked every atom in the universe. She could feel the electromagnetic fields that held matter together and sense the gravitational waves that rippled through space and time. But more than that, she became aware of 13 alien minds that were reaching out to her across the vast gulf between species. The Velani consciousness was nothing like human thought patterns. Where humans thought in words and images, the Velani experienced reality as pure harmony and mathematical relationships. Oh my God! Lisa gasped as the full impact of the connection hit her. I can feel all of you. Every thought, every emotion, every memory, through the link she experienced. Kira Thess's childhood on a world that sang with crystal music. She felt the joy of discovery that had driven the young Villani to become a scientist in the crushing despair. As her people began to die, but the connection worked both ways, and Lisa could sense the Villani minds reeling as they encountered human concepts for the first time. The idea of individual identity was completely foreign to them, as was the human capacity for making personal choices without consulting the group. Consciousness. This is incredible, Lisa said as tears ran down her face. You're not just individuals. You're all connected in ways that humans can barely imagine. Jake watched nervously as Lisa's vital signs fluctuated wildly on Amy Foster's medical scanner. Her brain activity is off the charts, Amy reported. It's like she's using parts of her mind that were never meant to be active. Through the quantum link, Lisa began to understand exactly what the illegal miners had done to the planet. The quantum crystals they had stolen weren't just valuable minerals. They were the foundation of a planetary consciousness that connected all life on Kepler 442b. I know how to save them, Lisa announced suddenly, but it's going to require something that's never been tried before. Jake knelt beside her. What do you need? The Villani can't survive without quantum connection to a planetary consciousness. But what if we could connect them to Earth's quantum field instead? Lisa explained. Every planet has quantum resonance patterns, but most species never learn to access them the way the Villani do. Kira Thess's crystalline features showed surprise. You would share your world song with us. More than that, Lisa replied. I'm going to teach you how to exist as individuals while maintaining your connection to each other. Humans have learned to thrive by being independent, but still working together when we need to. The process that followed was the most difficult thing Lisa had ever attempted. Using her expanded consciousness, she began to show the Villani how to maintain their essential nature while adapting to life without their dying planet. Through the quantum link, she taught them about human concepts like personal responsibility, individual creativity, and the strength that comes from choosing to help others even when you don't have to. At the same time, the Villani showed Lisa how to perceive the quantum harmony that connected all matter in the universe. For the first time in her life, she understood that consciousness itself might be a fundamental force of nature. It's working, Kira Thess said with amazement as her crystalline body began to glow with renewed energy. I can feel the connection to your Earth even from here. The other Villani in the circle also began to show signs of recovery as the quantum bridge that Lisa had created allowed them to draw life energy from a new source. But even as the bonding process succeeded, Jake could see that it was taking a terrible toll on Lisa. Her human mind was never meant to maintain simultaneous connection to 13 alien consciousness, and the strain was enormous. Lisa, you need to break the connection before it kills you, Jake said urgently. Lisa looked at him with eyes that now held depths of understanding no human had ever possessed. I can't break it completely, Jake. If I do, they'll die. But I think I can teach them to maintain the connection themselves with tremendous effort. Lisa began to show the Villani how to use their expanded consciousness to connect directly to the quantum patterns that surrounded them. It was like teaching someone to walk by holding their hand until they could take steps on their own. As the process continued, Jake realized that they were witnessing the birth of something completely new. The Villani were learning to exist as both individuals and as part of a collective consciousness, while humans were discovering abilities they never knew they possessed. But outside the temple, the planet continued to break apart, and Jake knew that their time was running out. The sound of weapons fire echoed across the crystal landscape as Jake Morrison watched enemy ships descend from orbit toward the Temple of Deep. Harmony. Sir, we've got incoming hostiles. Lieutenant Ben Hayes reported through his communicator. Looks like the mining operation decided they don't want any witnesses to what they've done here. Jake felt his blood run cold as he realized that Dr. Lisa Chun was still deep in the quantum bonding process with the Vellani, and couldn't be moved without killing both her and the aliens she was trying to save. How many ships? Jake asked as he checked his weapon and prepared for the fight of his life. 5 attack craft plus ground troops already moving toward your position. Ben replied, the good news is they don't seem to know about our ship in orbit. Amy Foster has the U.E.'s horizon hidden behind the larger moon. Jake looked around the temple at his small security team and knew they were vastly outnumbered by professional military contractors who wouldn't hesitate to kill everyone present to protect their illegal operation through the quantum link. Lisa suddenly gasped as she experienced something that made her cry out in pain. They're not just miners, she said with her consciousness still partially merged with the Vellani. Kirithis can sense their thoughts, and these people know exactly what they're doing to this world. What do you mean? Jake asked. They're working for Titan Corporation, and this whole operation is designed to harvest quantum crystals by destroying inhabited worlds, Lisa explained. The Vellani aren't their first victims. Jake felt rage building in his chest as he understood the full scope of what they were facing. Titan Corporation was one of the largest mining companies in human space, and if they had developed a business model based on alien genocide, then stopping them here wouldn't be enough. Sound of weapons fire grew closer as the corporate mercenaries fought their way through the crystal formations that surrounded the temple. Jake could hear Ben Hayes and his security team putting up fierce resistance, but they were being pushed back by superior numbers and firepower. Jake, I need more time, Lisa said desperately. The bonding process is working, but I haven't finished teaching the Vellani how to maintain the connection on their own. How much more time? Jake asked as he positioned his team to defend the temple entrance. At least 30 minutes, maybe more, Lisa replied. Jake looked at his chronometer and calculated their chances of holding off a full assault for that long. The numbers weren't encouraging, but he had made his decision back on the ship, and he wasn't going to abandon the Vellani now. Ben, this is Morrison, he called into his communicator. Fall back to the temple and prepare for siege defense. We need to buy Lisa at least half an hour. Copy that, sir, Ben replied. But you should know these aren't ordinary corporate security troops. Their equipment and tactics suggest military special forces training, as if to prove. Ben's point, a massive explosion shook the temple as the attackers used heavy weapons to blast through the crystal formations that provided natural cover around the ancient structure. Jake's team took positions behind crystal pillars, while the surviving human researchers from the colony helped by setting up energy barriers, using the temple's harmonic resonance system DR. Alan Pierce worked frantically to modify the temple's defensive systems while Jake tried to establish communication with the attacking force. This is Lieutenant Commander Morrison of the United Earth Space Force. He broadcast on all frequencies. You are committing acts of war against allied species and genocide against the Vellani people. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to military law. The response came in the form of plasma cannon fire that melted through the temple's outer crystal walls like they were made of ice. Through the quantum link, Lisa experienced the terror and determination of the Vellani as they realized that their ancient temple was under attack. But she also felt something else flowing through the connection that gave her hope. Kirithis just told me something important, Lisa called out over the sound of weapons fire. The temple isn't just a religious site, it's connected to quantum crystals, deep underground that the miners haven't found yet. Jake looked at her with desperate hope. Can we use those crystals somehow? Maybe, Lisa replied, but it would require completing the bonding process and connecting the temple's defense systems to human neural patterns before Jake could respond. The main entrance to the temple exploded inward as the corporate mercenaries breached their defenses. A figure in advanced combat armor stepped through the smoking ruins, and Jake recognized the insignia of a Titan Corporation strike team leader. "I am Captain Rex Sullivan," the man announced through his helmet's speaker system. "You are all under arrest for interfering with lawful corporate mining operations." Jake raised his weapon. "There's nothing lawful about committing genocide, Sullivan. The Vellani are a protected species under Earth Alliance law." Sullivan laughed coldly. "The Vellani are a resource drain that serves no useful purpose to human expansion. Titan Corporation has legal salvage rights to this system, and we intend to exercise them over my dead body," Jake replied. "That can be arranged," Sullivan said as he signaled his troops to advance. The battle that followed was unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. The corporate mercenaries had superior weapons and armor, but they were fighting in an alien temple that responded to harmonic frequencies in ways that human military doctrine had never anticipated. Lisa used her quantum connection to the Vellani to activate crystal formations throughout the temple that created energy barriers and defensive fields. The ancient structure itself seemed to come alive as it fought to protect the beings who had worshipped there for thousands of years. Ben Hayes led a flanking attack through the temple's side passages while Jake held the main chamber with covering fire that forced the mercenaries to take cover behind broken crystal formations. But even with the temple's defenses helping them, Jake knew they couldn't hold out much longer. Sullivan's troops were too well equipped and too well trained to be stopped by a handful of scientists and military personnel. "Lisa, how much longer?" Jake called out desperately. "I'm almost finished," Lisa replied with sweat pouring down her face from the strain of maintaining multiple quantum connections. "Just a few more minutes." That was when Purithes made a decision that shocked everyone present, including the other Vellani. The alien scientist used her connection to Lisa's consciousness to understand human concepts of individual sacrifice and personal heroism. "I will sever my connection to the group mind," Purithes announced. "This will allow Dr. Chun to focus all her energy on saving the others." "No," Lisa protested. "If you break away from the collective consciousness, you might not survive." "Some things are worth the risk," Purithes replied, using words and concepts she had learned from Lisa's human memories. "My people must live even if I do not," as Purithes deliberately cut her quantum link to the other Vellani. Lisa felt the alien's individual consciousness merge completely with her own human mind. The sensation was overwhelming, but it also gave her the clarity and focus she needed to complete the bonding process. Working with desperate speed, Lisa established permanent quantum links between the surviving Vellani and the Auna, harmonic frequencies that connected all matter in the universe. For the first time in their species' history, the Vellani learned to exist without depending on a single planet's consciousness. Even as Lisa succeeded in saving the Vellani, she could feel Kirithes's life force fading as the alien paid the ultimate price for her people's survival outside the temple. Sullivan's mercenaries prepared for a final assault that would overwhelm the defenders through sheer firepower. Jake checked his weapon and prepared to sell his life as dearly as possible. That was when Ben Hayes made a decision that would change everything. Ben Hayes crept through the broken crystal formations toward the Titan Corporation mining facility while the battle raged at the Temple of Deep Harmony 2 kilometers away. He had left Jake Morrison and the others to hold off Captain Sullivan's assault troops while he attempted what might be their only chance of stopping the planetary destruction. It was killing the Valanith. Mining complex was massive, with quantum extraction equipment that reached deep into Kepler 442b's crystalline core. Ben could see immediately that this wasn't some small, illegal operation, but a full-scale industrial project designed to strip the planet of every valuable mineral. "Amy, this is Ben," he whispered into his communicator. "I'm at the mining site, and it's worse than we thought. They've got enough equipment here to crack the planet open like an egg." "Copy that, Ben," Communications Officer Amy. Foster replied from the UES horizon. I'm monitoring the situation at the temple, and Jake's team is barely holding on. Whatever you're going to do, you need to do it fast. Ben studied the mining facility's defenses and realized that a direct assault would be suicide. The complex was protected by automated weapon systems and energy barriers that could stop a full military attack, but as he watched the quantum extraction process, he noticed something that gave him hope. The entire operation depended on a central control system that regulated the harmonic frequencies used to break down the planet's crystal matrix. If he could destroy that control system, the mining equipment would lose synchronization and the extraction process would collapse. It might even stabilize the planet's quantum structure long enough for an evacuation. Ben made his way carefully through the mining complex, using his military training to avoid the security sensors and automated defenses. What he found in the central control facility made his blood run cold. Titan Corporation hadn't just developed technology to extract quantum crystals from inhabited worlds. They had detailed files on dozens of other species whose home planets contained valuable minerals, and they were planning to use the same genocide tactics on all of them. These people aren't just criminals, Ben muttered to himself. They're planning the systematic extermination of every alien species that stands between them and profit. He began placing explosive charges on the quantum control systems while downloading as much data as he could carry. This information would be crucial evidence when Earth Alliance authorities prosecuted Titan Corporation for their crimes. Back at the temple, Jake Morrison watched helplessly as Captain Sullivan's mercenaries prepared for their final assault. His small team had fought with courage and determination, but they were running out of ammunition and defensive positions. Jake, the bonding process is complete, Dr. Lisa Chan announced with exhaustion and relief in her voice. The surviving Vellani can now maintain their quantum connection without depending on the planet's dying crystal matrix. Jake looked around at the 13 alien beings who were slowly getting to their feet with renewed energy flowing through their crystalline bodies. They had survived the destruction of their world, but at a terrible cost. Kira Thess lay motionless on the temple floor, her crystalline form now completely dark and cracked. Her sacrifice had made it possible for Lisa to save the others, but the young Vellani scientist had paid with her life. Is she? Jake began to ask. She's still alive, but barely, Lisa replied with tears in her eyes. The complete quantum merger with my consciousness has left her in a state that's neither human nor Vellani. I don't know if she can survive in that condition. Before Jake could respond, Sullivan's voice echoed through the temple as the corporate mercenaries moved into position for their attack. This is your final warning, Sullivan called out. Surrender now, and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Continue to resist, and you will be eliminated as unlawful combatants. Jake raised his weapon and prepared to make his final stand when a massive explosion shook the ground beneath their feet. The sound came from the direction of the mining facility and was followed by secondary explosions that lit up the horizon. Ben, what's your status? Jake called into his communicator. Mission accomplished, sir. Ben replied, the quantum extraction system is completely destroyed, and I'm uploading their corporate files to the horizon. You're not going to believe what these people were planning. The explosions at the mining facility had an immediate effect on the planet's stability. The quantum resonance that had been draining away began to stabilize as the extraction process shut down completely. But, more importantly, Sullivan's mercenaries suddenly found themselves cut off from their orbital support as their corporate masters realized that their secret operation had been exposed. All units, this is Sullivan, the mercenary captain broadcast. We are aborting the mission and returning to orbit immediately. Destroy all evidence and eliminate any witnesses. Jake knew that. Sullivan would try to kill everyone at the temple to prevent them from testifying about what Titan Corporation had done. He prepared for one last desperate battle when something unexpected happened. The Villani, who had been saved by Lisa's quantum bonding process, began to move toward the temple entrance with determination that surprised everyone present. "What are they doing?" Jake asked Lisa. "They're going to help us fight." Lisa replied with amazement. Kirithes taught them about human concepts of individual choice and personal sacrifice. They've decided that some things are worth fighting for, even if it means risking their lives. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history, as humans and aliens fought, side by side against corporate mercenaries who saw both species as nothing more than obstacles to profit. The Villani used their quantum connection to the planet's remaining crystal formations to create energy barriers and defensive fields, while Jake's team provided covering fire with their conventional weapons. Sullivan's